Hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio. Let's click resume and get right back into it. So, last time we left off, I believe we were working on Fulgora, and we were doing this, but I think we had just about finished it. I'm not 100% sure whether it works consistently or not. Oh right, we needed to expand it to keep up with the supply of supercapacitors. Now, from what I remembered, part of it was the belt speed limitation coming out of here, although that wasn't an enormous problem. But when we have the belts coming out of here and coming out of here, then it gets to be a bit too much. So we are probably going to want to fix that. So let's just get that connected back up. And let's get the Spidertron down here to do it. So that can go in immediately. And we had some potential issues with the buffering in this stuff. But let's see here. So, as far as the speed limitations go, this is keeping up. So far, so good, at least. Now, we will have more stuff going in now that we've turned it back on again. So, I can't remember if we are going to need to add... because I know I checked this out last time, and I think we might need to add an entire another row of recyclers in, and another one of these guys as well. I can't remember precisely what was needed. So let's just let that cook for a bit. Now once those are done, we'll have all the legendary EM plants we need. So, the only things remaining are, I guess, technically legendary stack inserters, which could be genuinely useful or even potentially necessary for super high throughput stuff. But they're also, the world's biggest pain to make. So, let's see here. We need legendary jelly, and a lot of it. Legendary carbon fiber, and a bit of it. Which is Yumiko Mash plus carbon. Now, we could just, cycle down some of the regular carbon fiber we have, but that seems like a bad idea, and the whole jelly situation on top of that is also not great. I think we're probably just going to ignore it, and if we have some extra difficulty getting super fast items in and out of machines, then that's something we'll just have to deal with. So, with that skipped, the last big priority is the Aquilo stuff. So, that is mostly cryogenic plants, which is processing units, superconductors, refined concrete. We have all of those, so we need to get legendary lithium plates. And I guess legendary biolabs, but we can work without those pretty reasonably. And let's see here. Pump jacks don't do anything legendary. What up here? Fusion reactors we shouldn't need, right? Because that's just power production. It just makes it go faster. It doesn't make it more efficient or anything. So everything in there is good. And then we might want legendary space-based things, but these should all be accessible with what I have. Oh, railguns, maybe? We might want legendary railguns. But we can probably even do without those. They might be necessary. So that will be legendary carbon fiber. As will rocket turrets if we want to make those legendary. Okay, we probably need to get around to that at some point. So legendary carbon fiber gives us rocket turrets and most of the way to railgun turrets, assuming quantum processors aren't... Where are quantum processors? There you are. Okay, so yeah, if we get legendary carbon fiber, legendary lithium plates, we can get quantum processors, and that will cover legendary railgun turrets, and then the rest of the turrets we have the stuff for already, except for Tesla turrets, which don't really do anything useful. And then we could, like, optionally do legendary Spidertrons, but I don't really care about that, so let's work on legendary carbon fiber, and that'll be close enough that we might as well do legendary stack inserters at that point as well. So carbon fiber is carbon plus Yumiko mash, and it recycles into itself, as does basically everything involved, like Yumiko mash does. Now, can we craft you into something that recycles back in a useful way? Like, if we just do... Is there anything that requires, like, carbon fiber and not much else? Tool belt equipment? Is this the thing? Yes. But that's probably not going to be productivity modulable, so it probably doesn't matter. Right. So if we were able to do this, that would be really convenient. I think it won't work for the productivity modules, though. Now, none of these, actually, except for quantum processors, which would be a giant nuisance for a number of reasons. I guess if we did quantum processors, it would get us lithium plates, too. But that is a lot of work for that. So, I mean, it does let us do productivity modules, though, and it gives us both of the things that we want to be doing. So actually, this is kind of reasonable, right? Like, we have to use a bunch of these other guys, which is a shame, but probably manageable. We're making a bunch of superconductors anyways. And then we get our lithium plates and our carbon fiber, and then we can use both of those to make a bunch of stuff, and the legendary quantum processors themselves as well. Okay, so step one is to make an enormous amount of carbon fiber. So, carbon plus Yumiko mash, and carbon is perhaps most easily done from burnt spoilage. There's obviously, we can do carbonic asteroid crushing as well, but burnt spoilage is just like stuff that we need anyways. So in order for that to work, we're going to need extra Yumiko mash production, which fortunately we can get in massive quantities here. And it seems like our current setups give us more than enough fruits of both types. So we just need to split this off, bring it over to the next row, and then get it going that way. Actually, is this providing enough nutrients? It's very, very close, it seems. But it should be fine. I just don't like the fact that this belt is like mostly empty most of the time. But it should be fine. I mean, I haven't seen any issues, so it's probably okay. So all we need to do is prior to all these guys ramping back in. So like somewhere around here we just... Actually the Spidertrons on this planet, I remember them being kind of terrible, right? So we just take you and you, and we say output priority to the existing stuff so that that doesn't break. And then we can just take this all the way out to here. And the jelly nuts, do we even need... We can use the jelly nuts as the source of spoilage, right? How much spoilage do we need? It's 10 Yumiko mash to 1 carbon, and then the burnt spoilage recipe is... Where is that? Burnt spoilage is 6 spoilage to 1 carbon. So we need less of the other thing than we do of this. So that should be pretty easy to manage. So we just bring these 2 belts out and just sort of off into a direction, wherever over there. And now we need to get all of this set up to make as much carbon fiber as physically possible. So, I did actually see you struggling briefly for nutrients. So, let's make sure that this is fine on nutrients by just accelerating you. You shouldn't need anything fancy, just 1 beacon should be more than enough to get this up to plenty of output speed. And it will mess a little bit with all this legendary bioflux stuff, which doesn't seem to be going super great anyways, to be honest. Like, this is real rough in terms of bioflux output. Don't know why it's this slow, even with everything we have, but it is what it is. Alright, so we've got our 2 setups, and the Yumiko mash is actually just like apparently not anywhere near enough. So we've gotten basically nothing on that belt, which I thought this was buffering earlier, but apparently it is not. Are any of these guys like just broken, or... Okay, this we can actually improve a little bit. So we somehow managed to miss a spot there. And then that area is as good as it'll get. But I don't know, maybe we... Yeah, we don't quite get an extra box out of that one. So are any of these guys broken? They all say waiting for plants to grow or working, right? None of them say like output full or anything. Working, waiting for plants to grow, working, waiting for plants to grow, working. Alright. So, if that is true, we need probably just like 1 or 2 more of these guys. So if we just simply copy paste this entire setup, just pop it over a little bit, and in it goes. Then we need to get the overgrowth soil, which there's some way of changing the scale. Ah, yes, numpad plus. Of changing the scale of the placement here. So let's just slap down all the overgrowth soil that we could ever possibly need. And fill in that entire area. And fill in this entire area. And then most of this stuff is not valid, but should be fine anyways. Okay, so now we have you in. You need to connect that power pole across in order to finish us off. And then we need to... Okay, we actually want to cut your output temporarily so that weird stuff doesn't happen with, like, wood and stuff that you pick up. Alright, so you are doing your thing. Seem to be planting. This one over here apparently also needs a power pole, so let's get some of those guys in. And you are just starting to plant. And then we'll see what happens with this. You are also going. And I think we need even more soil to get some of these spots to work properly. Alright. There we go. And then it really feels like those should be valid areas as well. Although maybe they were just barely out of range of the machine. Yeah, they were actually just out of the square. So that was a little bit of wasted soil, but it's fine. And then we seem to have also missed some spots immediately around the tower itself. So we can get that in. And now these are all up and running. You did wind up picking up some wood. So let's just get all that sorted out. And you are all set up properly, as are you. Unfortunately, you're sort of just on the boundary of the region, so there's not much that can be done there. And now they're just planting along, and they seem to be working fine. So you have your 3 wood that you picked up. Now you're just waiting for plants to grow, and you will be waiting pretty soon as well. So we should just be able to attach that back up and not have any issues. So now let's hop back over to here, and it looks like this did buffer at some point and give us some Unico Mash. Okay, so now we set up the biochambers. So we need a bunch of biochambers making Yumiko Mash. That is like step 1. Actually, we don't need a bunch because these are like freakishly fast, right? Yeah, they're insanely fast. And we can even... I'm pretty sure at some point we made legendary biochambers, right? Yeah, we have 50 some of them. So we can just get this probably out of just a tiny handful of biochambers. So let's go. Biochamber, legendary mode. And that will also be, I believe, more nutrient efficient, right? Because the legendary stuff have higher crafting speed, but not higher nutrient consumption. So that is that. And you are going to be set to Yumiko processing. And then we just have... Let's see here. We need a close input belt with Right, so we can just like copy paste this entire setup basically, and it should be mostly okay. So we just copy paste all of that, and then you get legendary productivity modules. And other than that, this should be all that we need. And I cannot wait to see how insanely quick this is going to be once it's all powered up and moduled. Because legendary biochambers are real fast. Alright, power is in for most of it, but not for that. Alright, we have 230 mash out of this one machine. Yeah, that's something alright. Alright, so if that's the case, then we're going to need more output, and so we're going to have to actually just redesign this slightly, and that'll involve moving the beacons and everything as well. So 3 of these are, I've always been estimating those as somewhere in the realm of 120. So if we have 2 of those, then 6 stack inserters should be 120 on that side, 120 on that side, gives us a full belt to 240. And then we have our input belt, which is, what is all this stuff? Okay, so this was the loop back, right? So we have seeds going out on that belt. This belt loops around. And a lot of this can be cut short since we only need 1 building. So this just goes around to there. And like that. So now we have, this is the input, and this is the nutrient, and this is, okay, wait, no, this isn't the nutrient and fruit loop back. This is just fruit. So the nutrients have to go out that way. Actually, is that necessary for this? Is that necessary for this? Because theoretically it should just be like 1 singular spoilage output, right? So we get that out there. Now all the fruit and nutrients should be split and dealt with. Now this needs to merge back up with you. So you go into there with input priority left for the stuff that's currently looping. And so that will get that around, and then the fresh fruit will go in this side, which let's just start building that belt and deconstruct some of those random trees that are in the way, because I do not like random trees. Okay, so this is our spoilage output. If this belt gets nutrients on it, then we're good to go. Oh, we will need to do the same thing we did last time, where we force the nutrients to one side into the belt and the fruit to the other. And then this is the seed output, which we can deal with in a second. Alright, is there anything from over here that we are missing in this setup, aside from the beacons, which I just want to get those placed in once I know where exactly we'll have space for them? So you loop back there. The nutrients have a similar loop back. And it should be fine. So this should just straight up work. This should just fully function, and now we get the beacons in. So we want 3 beacons so that this has a bit of overkill. So we can have more than 240 potentially, although that will mean a steady supply of spoilage, but that's actually just, I mean, is that a problem? It might actually cause issues. Let's see, if I take one of those speed modules out, what do you become? You become 235. Alright, how close can we get you? If that becomes just a regular speed module, not a legendary, what happens? I'm just trying to get this like as close to exactly 240 as possible, which is probably pointless, but so that, see if we can get closer than 235 just by having that other legendary speed module downgraded. And if not, then we'll go back to the previous setup. No, this is way slower. Okay. So we can do that. And that will give us 235 Yumiko mash per second, which is basically 240. And we have to make sure to copy paste that across as well. Alright, so we have 240 Yumiko mash going out. Then we need an identical setup for the jelly nuts, because we just have the excess jelly nuts that we want to literally just spoil them. So we copy paste you, pop you down to here, and you can be jelly nut processing. And we're going to have to wait for all that to get built before seeing how exactly the speeds line up. And we need to get the modules in. But then hopefully this will give us a good idea of what we're looking at. Alright, so this, by the way, nutrients are totally fine, so we can even just yoink some of the excess nutrients from up there to feed this whole system, which should be quite nice to have. So now we have you set up 471 per second. Absolutely not. Let's just take out one of the beacons. Take out one of the beacons, see if that gets it under control. No, take out another beacon. Still 332. Take out one of the speed modules. And it crashes completely. Put a regular speed module back in its place. And again, we're just trying to get like kind of close to a full belt, but not quite. Like as close as we can get to a full belt without going over. 238. Wow, that is pretty great. Alright, so that should be plenty. Now we need to deal with the spoilage. So first of all, we need all of this jelly to just go into a massive set of boxes for what's it called? Just literally just to spoil. Oh, and these filters need to be set properly. So that goes to there. This becomes jelly nut seeds instead of Yumiko seeds. And that should be all functional. Now we need just like a giant line of boxes, which might need to be quite large, I'm not sure. So we do something like that. Then you all get your stack inserters. And then another row of stack inserters, but these ones are going to be filtered to spoilage only. And that should work. We might get weird things. Alright, let's have down at the end a box with a bulk inserter just in case spoilage stuff happens and we need to fix that. Hopefully it won't be an issue, but might as well plan ahead. So then that turns all of this stuff into spoilage, and if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright, so if we just go like here, then you go up there, that goes down. We get this whole system to flip the outputs so that we feed both sides of the belt. This should give us a full belt of 240 spoilage per second. And then we just need to take all of that plus this and make our carbon fiber. Oh wait, no, we need to burn the spoilage first, which is just the burnt spoilage recipe, which also takes place in a biochamber. So we set you to just burnt spoilage. And you get maximum quality modules. And we will try to see what happens with 2 sets of legendary speed beacons. And then you get a power pole. So this would be your input from that side, and then your output up to there. And then you would need potentially those to get the stack inserter going. And then much less on the output side. Okay, so this is only 23 spoilage. It's actually really slow. Okay, so let's, while I'm just distracted, get a couple of those power poles placed. So this is incredibly slow. It's also going to need nutrients, which we can just feed in from somewhere, probably. Shouldn't be too hard. And because this is so slow, we're going to need a whole bunch of them. So let's cut you, rotate you, flip you horizontally so that you go somewhere in like that. What button did I even press to do that? I keep doing that like instinctively, and I don't even know what I'm doing differently than when I normally deselect the blueprint and it works. Okay, so this is all set up. Now we need it to get its nutrient input, which I guess can be a long-handled inserter right there. And this is going to need to be stacked a bit. So we copy-paste this whole thing, and actually let's make sure that these belts extend all the way down. So now we copy paste this and send all that stuff up to there, and I did not realize that this was right here, or I would have done that differently, but it's fine. So we can just have you pointing out this way, maybe? Because we need like 10 of these, right? And this is not 10. It's a lot less than 10, actually. Brilliant commentary. Alright, so now we have you pointing this way instead. And now we have 3, 6, 9. And we need like one more, so 10. There you go. Okay, so the good news is that the only part of this that has to deal with spoilage outputs is the nutrient side. All the rest of this is just static items, because spoilage doesn't spoil, and neither does carbon. And apparently Gleba is short on legendary speed modules, so we will need to get those to show up somehow. We should be able to just tack legendary modules onto the list of things that Gleba support brings. Just pop those in, and that should be done eventually. And oh, fast transport has had a long time since it's gotten refueled, so you're gonna have to run up there and do that before you run out of power. So let's just have that happen. Now we've got all of this. One more power pole over there for that last one. So now we have all of this. We need to give it a nutrient supply, which should be easy. Then we just need to get nutrients into this loop, basically. So you loop back all the way over this way. You loop around, and then somewhere in here you have one of these guys, which can function as the spoilage output. And that is that. So all of that stuff is cleared. Now we need to worry about crafting up the carbon fiber itself. So we take this, it goes out onto this long line. Now how fast is it going to need to be? So we have you making carbon fiber, and you get the traditional 2 beacons with legendary modules. And that whole thing gets a power pole for now. Gonna need Gleba support to make a full round trip in order to figure out exactly what we're doing here. Which is kind of a nuisance. Kind of a nuisance. So, we can't figure this out. I guess we can figure out just by, like, the proportional. So this is crafting speed 5. This is crafting speed 46.2. So it should be, like, almost, but not quite 10 times. So this will be, like, 15, but then there's the extra 100% productivity as well. So it'll probably be like 25 to 30, maybe, which means well, okay, so the input of this is actually the more interesting part, because that's 10 Yumiko mash, which I guess we can productivity module that down. But yeah, it's just hard to do the math, basically. It's difficult to do the math. So instead, let's get the nutrient inputs in. So we have, like, you coming down from there, you coming down from there, and then this going into there. Those all provide the nutrients. And then these belts here all provide the spoilage, which we should be able to just straight up yoink the spoilage into this row over here. And that means that any of that spoilage will just go into here, and it'll have priority over all this stuff coming from these stack inserters, so it should be fine. And I don't know, maybe we'll add in an output priority there, and then this can go off to a heater somewhere if we need it to. But hopefully we won't. Alright, so that just goes like so, and then we get you all to have your stack inserters. So that should be fine for the spoilage output, assuming we can also get this one to go down as well. And you can just merge into that. Alright, so any spoilage on any of those nutrient belts is just sorted out and dealt with immediately. Next, we need to get all of these up here to the nutrient input. So that is going to split once there, split a second time there, and then go into those two. Now, these are input priority left, input priority left, input priority right, so that we don't put fresh nutrients in until we've used up the existing stuff. So that should be that, and now I happen to notice that this nutrient belt is spending a lot of time buffering. So congratulations, you get a fresh place to supply nutrients to. So that goes like that. And it should be fine to grab them from there. It might be slightly better to grab them from up here. Oh wait, I missed that. It should be fine, right? These are all on one side of the belt already. So we shouldn't have any issues with nutrients getting where they don't belong. So now we can... Have the modules showed up yet? Gleba support is here over Novice. It's got everything it needs, and it's just waiting to return. So that is not going to be set up for a while, but we can take our belts here. So you go here, we force you onto that side, you can go here, and we're going to force you onto this side, but the Yumiko Mash has nowhere to go yet, unlike the jelly, which does have an output. And I guess we should probably have, first of all, we have that get powered, and second of all, we have another heating row, and a pretty big one at that, past all of this, so that the spoilage can just always do stuff. And we'll even have it be a double-sided heating row, just so that we have even more output. And now we just need to just like replace a couple of these guys with power poles, and that should get, those 2 power poles should get this entire area powered up just fine. And that should be all the heating we need for that. So now we've got all this stuff in here. Oh, and we need to set up our fruit output. So the seeds go onto that belt there. And that just smacks into that. And this one just comes down and not into that. That would break everything. You come around and into that. And did we ever get spoilage filters on these? No, we didn't, I don't think. So let's make sure that the spoilage on those gets filtered out and sent up there. And then the spoilage on this one gets filtered out and sent up there. And that will be spoilage filter output right. You will be spoilage filter output right. And that ought to be everything handled except for those couple of seeds which got in there. Which is unfortunate, but they're also like basically invisible. Which means we're just going to have to wait for them to actually show up. We missed one power pole in there that could be used. Alright, so now we have technically a small amount of carbon has been made. And I assume those seeds just probably got burned somewhere at some point. Which is a bit of a waste, but no big deal. And how long does it take Gleba support? It's here, right? Yes, it is. So you drop down all of those modules, and then did we not set Gleba up to request those automatically? Ah, we didn't. Okay. So there we go. You request a stack of legendary speed modules, and they're already showing up. So now we'll get to see what this carbon fiber production looks like once we're all done. It looks like this might... This jelly spoiling row might be good enough. It's tough to say. We might need a couple more boxes, but I guess we will find that out, because right now this is giving us like one full row solidly, and then this row hasn't really had time to cook yet, so it's tough to say exactly how that'll work out. But we certainly have enough spoilage production. We are burning so much spoilage out here. And it looks like the heating towers aren't having issues though, so that's good. Okay, so let's just assume that this is working for now. And the thing is, we just need an enormous amount of storage in order to hold the jelly while it spoils. Which it seems like we don't have enough. Yeah, so let's just cut this whole thing, move it out to there, and then that was actually not aligned properly. This needs to be out to there. And then we add in a whole bunch more of these guys. And then they all do their thing. And then these belts continue across. And what is this? This top belt here. Oh, I see, yeah. So that is the excess spoilage. Which these guys need to be powered up to deal with. And then those get a power pole, and that should be plenty. But we need to actually put belts onto here. So those belts go across. Now these get a power pole. And then those get another one, and that should be... If that's not enough jelly nut stockpiling, then I don't know what is. Okay, so that's all that. The nutrients seem to be working just fine, at least for now. And this up here is 92.3 Yumiko mash. So we're going to need like 3 of them to get the full carbon fiber output. So we do this, 2 and 3. Now we just need to cut this, build it up a little bit. So you need 1 mega input, 1 pretty reasonable sized input, and then 1 output. So this should be enough. So you take a stack of Yumiko mash, and then you take a second stack inserter of Yumiko mash, and then hopefully the long-handled inserter is enough to deal with the carbon. I should have definitely checked that before setting all this up in the exact way that I did, but it should be fine. Okay, so that is all going. I guess these are going to have spoilage built up in their outputs, actually. So we need the carbon to go... Carbon isn't a... Oh, carbon is a burnable fuel. So we need the carbon to go out this way. And then we need that to filter out for spoilage. And the other direction, actually, if we do it that way, it's technically a bit more convenient. Alright, so then we can just do a couple of those, because that shouldn't be anything more than a very tiny issue, and then the carbon output can slip past like that and go up. And that should get that all covered. Now, this also needs its own nutrient input loop, which, let's see here, we can theoretically... Okay, wait, I have an idea. So if we grab you, flip it vertically, build it here-ish, then these guys can take their nutrients just from this existing nutrient loop, which is already set up, and I don't have to do any extra work to get that working. And then we have all this stuff up and running again. And I really need to remember how fast the speed modules make this. And then we get some power poles down there as well. Alright, so the modules can show up. And this is 9.23 carbon per second. The long-handled inserters are only like 5-ish, so that is actually going to cause an issue. Okay, so how do we solve that? We can have an incredibly scuffed setup where the carbon input is the opposite side of the output belt, I guess. Yeah, that actually does work, doesn't it? Because neither of those are spoilage, so it's not going to be weird. So we take all those out. Don't need that. Now we just need you to take from there, and that belt needs to point, I think it needs to point this way now so that the carbon input can get in easily. Then we have the carbon input, which needs to be on the near side of this belt. And you just go in like that. And all of these numbers should work, right? So it's going to be 60 carbon fiber output, which is plenty. We have 120 per side. And it's going to be 30 carbon input, which we also have plenty of. So yeah, the numbers should work. The numbers should work. And then we're going to need to do some serious filtering back here, because there could be all sorts of weird stuff on this now. So this could have excess carbon, which we... Do we actually need to loop the carbon? I actually don't know. I think the answer is no, but I'm not 100% sure. Because there is like this spoilage on the belt here. So this needs to keep moving, this carbon belt, otherwise it won't work properly. And it's probably fine, right? Like, everything past this point is pure carbon. So yeah, it should be fine, I think. So we just take this forwards, then we filter out carbon and just send it nowhere. Then we go another step forwards, and actually can just be like exactly the next block. So here we filter out any spoilage that's gotten on this belt somehow and just pop that down to there. And then finally out here we have our carbon fiber, which we can then just safely load up into some boxes. And that should be everything. So now we just connect that in and see what happens. Oh, we also need... Did that roboport not reach properly? Yeah, it definitely did not. So we need a roboport over here to get these last couple of belts done, and that means that roboport won't need to exist. Oh, we need to actually connect the Unico Mash belt into this, right? So that goes there, and then just goes into... I mean, it can actually just loop up into this burner row. That should be fine. So you just go into there, and that should be everything, because there shouldn't be much spoilage getting past that point. Okay, so now we need to set that to be a belt. All the rest of this stuff is almost getting built. So that random chunk of spoilage is going to get through. And this just needs to empty out all of its excess spoilage that it has before it can start running again. Alright, so now we have Yumiko Mash going out and getting used up by these guys, which are apparently... They can use a third stack inserter, which is fine by me. when these are running full tilt, they should use up every single scrap of Yumiko Mash. So let's get that in so that we don't have this happening. And I don't know where all the Roboports are. Okay, they're up there doing stuff. So this is 69. Nice. Carbon fiber per second, in theory, which is going to be slightly less than that because we can't actually manage the full Yumiko Mash output. Now this is perpetually output full, it looks like. So let's see here. If we move this, it's gonna cause issues. Okay, maybe if we move that power pole, that shouldn't break anything, right? Move that power pole. We get another inserter down there, which just slams up into here. And then, if it works, it works. That'll be the slightest bit extra Yumiko Mash set up and running. And now we have Yumiko Mash. Now we have Yumiko fruit shortages again, which is not terribly surprising, but it is quite annoying. And it looks like Jelly Nut Seeds are also having a bad time. So this is like the most efficient possible way of using it. So there's not much more we can do there. We just need to increase our supplies of Yumiko Mash and Jelly Nuts, which is fine. But now we have this issue where these guys up here are going to get spoiled, and these are going to be messed up. So if we filter these to Yumiko Mash, that should cause them to throw away any spoilage that they wind up getting, and they won't just get stuck with that forever. So that should solve that issue. And now, I mean, even just in that brief period of time, we did get thousands of carbon fiber. But we definitely are in the need for more Yumiko Mash. Because, like, this is all kind of nothing in terms of Yumiko Mash outputs. So, can we just expand these guys upwards a little bit and just add in a bunch more? So, let's see here. This setup here should just scale directly up, right? So if we just pop another one of you up here, I don't know where exactly it needs to go for like maximum efficiency, but if we just put it like there, then it should be fine. And then each of these gets one of those. And okay, this is actually too close. They overlap slightly. Right? Yes. So that's not good. We need these to be... no, we don't want to do that. We need these to be... like up here should be correct, I think. Because that should be right on the boundary if I'm seeing it correctly. Now this is going to cause absolute havoc for the pentapods. The pentapods are not going to be pleased about all this. Okay, so now let's just get this, and let's just scale it up to the max and just slam all these guys in. Somehow, when I was designing this earlier, that particular spot was not right. But it should be close enough. So all of those, they all get their blocks. And then some of these... Okay, so now we need to start worrying about getting power up to these, which should just be a question of connecting these power poles down. Those ones somehow managed to be connected already. So we just put these belts in here right next to all of that. Those are all in. And construction bots are pretty busy, but they should get to it. And can we just, if we dismantle that, will that give us extra slots to put stuff in? No, it doesn't look like it. Alright, so this should be fine. Should be everything we need, and now we just have to worry about somehow like some scraps of wood getting in here somewhere. So throw that away, throw the spoilage away. You can throw all that stuff away. You can throw all that stuff away. You're looking correct. You have all sorts of weird stuff. Okay, hopefully that is fixed up. And we won't have just random specks of wood scattered around the belts. That would be quite the nuisance. Okay, and then this one somehow didn't get... Somehow I missed that earlier, so there you go. You get all the soil you need. And how is our soil stockpile doing at this point? Yumiko soil, we actually used up like half of it, which could be a whole lot worse. Okay, now, over here on the jelly nut side, the jelly nut side looks fine. I mean, we need less of it anyways, in theory. And it doesn't need to be at the exact right timing because it's getting converted into spoilage. So it should be fine, although we can... Let's see, if we put... We can actually just control this to be enable disable based on control behavior. And then we run all the way back to here, and we can just read the contents of that steel chest down there at the end. And yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Because we do want the jelly nuts to keep going. Probably. I actually don't know. Do we? Because it is just wasteful for the jelly nut production, but this is like the last overflow of the last thing, so probably fine. Yeah, okay, so we will have you... This reads contents, and you are going to be set to if spoilage is greater than, let's say, 1,000. So that should be like when this entire row is almost entirely filled, then it'll stop and throw the excess away. Otherwise we can just have a nice big stockpile and it'll be fine. Okay, so now what's going wrong? Now these guys are... Now these guys are getting messed with by the spoilage output. So you can't get that out without changing things. We need to like completely change the way this is designed in order to get an extra spoilage output. Okay, how about actually what if we have this be a little bit slower? So this needs these... It needs those in order to work, but if we set them up like this, it'll be a little bit slower to run. And then we need that belt to go up around that way to leave us space. It'll be a little bit slower to run, but it won't get the spoilage stuck problem. And then these can just continue up into there. And they won't be able to run at full speed until we eventually get around to making enough legendary jelly along with the legendary carbon fiber to make these stack inserters legendary. But they should be like close enough, right? Okay, and now we have the problem where this is not enough, although now this is up and running again. This heating tower area is sufficient once more. So that's good. So that's all good. We definitely did not need this much jelly. This is extreme overkill. We needed, what, 30 carbon, which is like 3 or 4 of these instead of the giant number we have. So yeah, we definitely did not need that much, but it's fine. It's fine. It's, again, only wasting like the last possible overflow. Okay, so now if we check these guys over here, we need to get them fully fixed. So that means getting this random spoilage out. You're actually fully functional to begin with. You are working fine. You are working fine. That's going along nicely, as is this guy. So that should be everything. Now we have the issue that this stuff here is like, as far as what side of the belt it's all going on, it's a little bit scuffed. And let's see. There's just so many different random spots that jelly nuts go out that it's difficult to say if this... Yeah, no, this is definitely not outputting fast enough. So we start off with like this group of here. So if we have this loop around to the other side of the belt, that'll help us out a little bit. Just a little bit, but it should be marginally beneficial. Then we have all of this stuff in here, which past this point is just blue. So we need to upgrade this belt to be extra fast. And that goes all the way along here. We're going to get some random other belts in the process upgraded that didn't really need as much, but that's fine. So this just keeps on going all the way up to here, and then all the way past there, out to there, and up, over a little bit, and then up, and then here is where it's turbo. Well, here is where we have our splits stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going up there, a lot of stuff coming out this way. Now the stuff which goes up here, I am not worried about. That's just doing whatever it is doing. I guess this is technically making legendary jelly nut, in theory. But that's not the issue at all. So then this whole row is... Alright, so now we have enough Yumiko Mash. That's all been sorted out. And the output is jammed again. Oh, the output is jammed because we just have so much dang carbon fiber. Okay. That should be fine, right? Okay. No, we need to make sure that this actually has enough output. So let's tear that down and just like run it along this way and then backwards through those, because this is basically never using any of it, right? So this should be fine. So that goes, all gets picked up, and you might need to run it even further. Okay, yeah, this is where we just need an enormous number of heating towers. But it should be fine. Like, this should just work, and it's not going to run at 100%, but it should run at high enough percents to not cause issues, and give us our multiple boxes full of carbon fiber, which let's just get another 3 just so that we have them. And we might need to get these set up with a dedicated launch pad, because if we are going to be wanting to launch all of these up onto a space platform and not spend a lot of time waiting, we are probably going to need a couple dedicated launch pads, which Gleba is not really super well equipped for, but that's something which we're going to need to work on at some point anyways, so let's get that going. So we need rocket silo, 1, 2, 3. Now, Gleba does not have rocket silos, so your assembly machine for rocket silo is here. Oh, but here's another assembly machine for rocket silos, which doesn't have electric engine units. Alright, electric engine units. Where do those come from? Do we make those on site, or do we just import them? I think we just import them, probably. Alright, Gleba support. I have another thing for you to do. Just bring in electric engine units from Novice. How many does this need? You need 200 per launch. Yikes. That's a bit rough. So in that case, you can bring in at least like 1,000 maybe per launch. And then hopefully this has enough space for all of the things we're having it do. If not, we can probably squeeze more cargo bays, but more realistically just make a new version which isn't as awful. Alright, so now back over to here. We've got these. Next, they need their fuel supplies. They need their productivity modules. They need their speed beacons just so that they're not completely embarrassingly slow. This region back here is going to need a drone port. And then this whole area can get powered. Then those... Ooh, what have I done? I don't know what I did there. I clicked something that I apparently didn't mean to click. But we need to get those pasted across so that the requester chests will supply the fuel. Then we get our buffer area down here. So each of these can get like 3 boxes worth of just good old steel chests, which are fed in and ready to be launched. Then we get power poles there, there, and there, which coincidentally just connects up instantly. And then we feed a belt in. So now, instead of this... Oh boy. Now we've got the second row of pass provider chests, whether we want it or not. No, instead of that, we're going to have to dismantle it, which is going to be a nightmare. Our poor drones are going to spend forever doing that. And instead, we have a belt which will feed into all these guys. And now we wait. Now we wait to empty boxes of thousands upon thousands of carbon fiber, while every single construction bot on the planet is going to be busy for the foreseeable future. It is quite the long trip. We might even... Okay, we shouldn't fill up our storage chests. That should be fine. That should be fine, but... Yeah, so that's going to take a while, but once it gets done, it should just work. And all of these guys have seemingly enough inputs that they should be able to sustain this for a bit. But let's set this up to request larger numbers of everything, just so that they can store plenty of stuff and not have to worry about waiting on drone delays when they're building. Alright, so Gleba support, you're over here on Novice, getting your electric engine units launched, and that should be fine. You apparently need just more storage for those here on Novice, should be all we need. So we just have to go over here, find this spot, and no, we might actually genuinely need more production. So you are like caught by the corner of this beacon, which is a terrible old-fashioned beacon. Let's make you extra fast. And you as well. So this should be massively upgraded supply of electric engine units, which should keep all that stuff going. So currently you're at 0.72. Once the beacon shows up and the legendary productivity modules, we'll see what you get up to. It's funny, your crafting speed is 5.1875. Like, do we really need 4 decimal points here? Is that necessary? Alright. So now that's all in. This is now more than 1 electric engine unit per second. So that is all good. Gleba support has a good chunk of electric engine units. It's got 400, and it's just going to have to wait for the next couple to show up. Okay, now this has mostly been done, and we're just waiting on a couple random transport belts to show up. Fill in the hole. How have you gotten spoilage on this belt? That shouldn't be a thing. There's definitely no spoilage here. Was there some spoilage on this belt that got shoved in? That must be it. Alright, so let's just dismantle all that, rebuild it. And then that should give us our carbon fiber supply. What is taking this specific belt so incredibly long to build? There's not some weird, obscure problem with it, right? Okay, I'm going to dismantle that and redesignate it. And I don't know what is going on. Alright, no, it showed up eventually. Okay, so there we go. So now we have our carbon fiber filling in over to here. That should eventually give us our rocket silos. And I actually am not 100% confident on the efficiency of this planet's ability to make rocket ingredients, so I am going to legendary productivity those just so that we waste a little bit less resources on all this. And we don't need the speed modules to go any faster. This should be more than enough. So now we just fill up a bunch of boxes with carbon fiber, and that will eventually be useful. Now we could just like legendary cycle this jelly in preparation for making legendary stack inserters, but we are not gonna have the legendary carbon fiber for quite a bit until we get the quantum processors set up all going, so I'm not in a huge rush for that. Now the quantum processor cycling, it's got to just be in space, right? Like there's no reason to send all these guys down to a planet and then immediately back up. It might as well just be done in space. But the next thing we need is lithium, right? So we need to... This planet is such an absolute mess in every conceivable way. So we've got all this lithium plates, and that is something which we're going to need to make our quantum processor cycling. And I just realized, is this going to cause problems with the fluoroketone supply? Because we put 10 in, we get 5 out. Alright, so this is going to drain fluoroketone cold without giving it back, but that's... It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It should be fine. So, step 1 is remember even remotely how Aquilo works, because I haven't looked at this planet in like a long time. So, lithium is just an easy smelt, and so lithium processing. Lithium plates, it's just an easy smelt in electric furnace. So that's fine. Lithium itself, we need holmium plates, because of course we do. Actually, wait a minute. Isn't legendary lithium... We have legendary holmium plates, right? So we just take the legendary holmium plates, we add lithium brine and ammonia, and we just get this. Those are both fluids, so it's free. Okay, that changes things a lot, actually. That makes me want to just separately legendary cycle the carbon fiber, because I mean, legendary holmium plates aren't free, but it's not horribly expensive either, is it? Now, what are the numbers? 1 holmium plate gives you 5 lithium chunks. 1 lithium chunk gives you 1 lithium plate. And then if we want to use the cryogenic plants, where is that? Oh god, the menu of actually having your inventory and everything is so different. And we need like 20. So these are actually like kind of free, right? Like we just take our legendary holmium plates supply in and then we're just good. Like just kind of 0 effort. So that gives us our legendary lithium, which gives us our cryogenic plants. And then the other thing we needed was the carbon fiber for the various turrets. So do we just legendary cycle up the carbon fiber individually then? Is there any... Actually, rocket... Is there just any better way? I've checked this before, right? The only one of these which does productivity module is quantum processors, so I think we just like raw cycle the carbon fiber, which is going to be... It's going to be kind of horrific in terms of like how much output we get. In terms of how much output we get, it's going to be terrible. Why are the... I hit a button somewhere that removes the... Oh god, what button did I hit? I just have to start hitting buttons again. Okay, they're back. I'm not sure what button I hit. All the useful little tooltips showing me what everything is disappeared temporarily. And I cannot function without those, so that would have been bad. But they're back now. Don't know what button I hit to bring them back either. Alright, so we need to just legendary cycle the carbon fiber separately. And then once we do that, the holmium plates. How are the holmium plates supplied? This is like still this whole giant thing, isn't it? Like all of this stuff is going. Now, in terms of output speed, this side is belt speed limited, even with the 2 belts. This side seems to be mostly jammed at this point. And it's jammed because of too much holmium plates. Okay, so step 1 is expand out this whole cycling setup, because this is obviously not good enough. So we're back to legendary holmium plates being the only thing that matters, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know how convenient or inconvenient it is. So we need an extra row of recyclers. Do we just do this like we did the blue circuits? So when we did the blue circuits, we just had all of these filter out in such a way that all the common cycling happened here, all the uncommon cycling happened here, etc. And that just means that there's no like weird recipe switching, and it all just more or less works. So that is quite tempting. So how did we do that? We had the outputs here get sent out. So then this gets filtered. We have the uncommons go this way and into here. And then this is only productivity modules, so then that goes back and in. Okay. Now, as far as the number of machines we had here, this is actually kind of a surprisingly small amount, but it's because of how insanely efficient this is. Alright, so down here do we have the space to do a similar setup? God. I want to use, like, all of this enormous amount of supercapacitors. It's kind of tricky to do. So, okay, so we need to, first of all, get this... Do we need to... I really hope we don't need to completely dismantle this and redesign. That would be super annoying. So is there some way to just, like, hijack this on so that all the common loopbacks go in here? But that would overwhelm the fresh supply, actually. Which I do want to have as much of the fresh supply going as possible, even if it might be a little bit wasteful. Or, like, just in terms of space. So, what we need is some system of doing this in a more elegant way. Now, if we rotate this to be pointing upwards, then we can just, like, build more of these off to the side. That will go off the edge of the island, which is a bit annoying. But how's our foundation going up on Aquilo? Is this producing well? No, we need more carbon fiber. Now, whoever brings the carbon fiber is about to get very good news, because we have the world's largest carbon fiber source now. So, can we get, like, just you? You're fast transport, you're the generic mode, right? Now, somewhere around here, do we just copy-paste you and get a new version up to Aquilo doing that? Wait. Transport platform. No, it wasn't you. I sent someone up to Aquilo to refuel. I thought it was fast transport, but I must have brought it back somewhere. Who knows? Who knows? Alright, so if we just, like, build another one of you. So we copy, add space platform, Aquilo fast. That's what we're calling you, Aquilo fast. And we're not going to be able to paste that for a little bit until that gets built. But basically, we just need to get an improved supply of just input and output up to Aquilo, which is going to involve just also rocket launches as well as assorted supplies for the foundations. Because you need your carbon fiber, you need your stone. Although the stone looks like it's doing more fine than the carbon fiber. So we certainly have enough carbon fiber. That's never going to be the issue again. Aquilo Fast is just getting put together still. And should be any second now, although it looks like all of these are busy launching tens of thousands of red circuits for some reason. Who is getting those? Is it you? Yeah. Okay. So that just indicates to me that you need even more ability to launch red circuits. So if we go back down to this area, these guys are they all doing fine in terms of their supplies of items? No, we need more rocket fuel on Novice. Oh boy, that's exciting. Okay, that's kind of an urgent fix needed. So, step one, How are you looking in terms of inputs? You're looking kind of fine. We can accelerate you a lot, though. So we are going to take out those random speed modules you have, and then you get maximum productivity, and then you also get legendary beacons with legendary speed modules. So I think this is like our... This might genuinely be our main supply of rocket fuel on the planet. We've got another one down here, I guess, which we will also set up to be as optimal as possible with all the best beacons and everything. Alright, so that's all in. These are going to be lightning quick now, in theory, assuming, obviously, while supplies last. Let's also upgrade those to bulk inserters just in case that is somehow an issue. And I don't like that belt going very slow, so let's make it go faster. Alright, now this is short on solid fuel, which might be a whole other can of worms that we're going to need to open at some point. But before we do any of that, we need to fix this. So you are item ingredient short, which means we need more solid fuel production out here. So all of those go. All of these get upgraded to legendary with speed modules. And that, if that isn't enough solid fuel, then I don't know what is. Our solid fuel supply seems to be keeping up just fine in terms of, like, that output stuff. Okay, so now this is looking good again. And now the problem is that you're loading entirely based off of long-handled inserters for no discernible reason. So we should be able, if we just swap these over like that, and then just nudge the power poles around into the empty space so that it works. That should be fine. So now these should be able to keep up with the insert speed, at least. At least for now. We might need to just rearrange the pipes and everything so that we can use bulk inserters if we need to accelerate this even more. But hopefully we don't. Alright, so now your item ingredient short just because the belt isn't fast enough. So let's get that belt upgraded all the way, and then just for the sake of it, those can be stack inserters, which should keep us entirely fine on the solid fuel end. Now, we should probably also spend a minute on the light oil. So these guys are making our light oil supply. Are they the only ones? No, we're also getting some light oil from down here. So these guys are actually mainly just cracking down heavy oil. So, step one is... I keep saying step one when I'm like very clearly in the middle of the process. I should be saying like the next step or something along those lines. But it's too late now. Too late to change my speaking habits now. So these all get fully upgraded. And then these guys are probably also going to want to be replaced with speed modules to keep up with everything, because otherwise I mean, okay, actually the heavy oil here is pretty low at the moment. So I don't actually know where it's all going. I mean, obviously some of it's going here, but surely this is more. Now it's definitely more. Okay, so that is up and running much better now. And these guys can all just take better productivity modules if I want to. So let's just take out some of those guys and replace them with beacons. So those all get better speed beacons, and then I don't actually think we want to give them better productivity modules, because I think we just need to get rid of the excess heavy oil, and this is the only place that can do that. So you are now going. You're currently heavy oil full. That will change once these beacons show up and these start going burr. At least in theory. Okay. So now that's all in. And this is now capable of turning 100% of all the heavy oil ever produced into light oil if need be. So now the light oil pipe is going to quickly fill up, which hopefully won't cause issues for the petroleum gas. We might need to upgrade these as well. So these take the excess light oil and convert it down to petroleum gas. And they can certainly stand to be upgraded, right? I don't know. It looks like it's going fine, though. And our rocket fuel supply is now back up to being strongly ahead of the curve. So we shouldn't have any more problems there. But now what I want to do is actually... we need to remove this coal belt, because I just want to put, like, even more rockets in here. So we will start by expanding this out this way as far as it'll go before hitting those train tracks. So that goes all the way out to there. Then we need to copy all of this stuff and flip it vertically, paste it back in, and then place it, and then this coal belt just needs to do what it's doing. Is this belt facing the wrong way now? How did we manage to reverse? Oh wait, no, this coal belt does go down this way. Okay. So we somehow managed to reverse this. So that just needs to go like so, all the way across. And then that's set back up again. And then Novice needs to craft up a bunch more of those. And we also need to get some more random drone ports in. So we get one there, we get one there, we get one over there. That one's powered up already, that one's powered up already. This one just needs a power pole to go by it. Okay. So that hopefully will be enough launch pads once this is all done to not have any problems launching red circuits. Now we need to check, because our rocket launch production over here is not going properly. Okay, it's because you're just a random fast inserter. You need to be... Let me actually make you a legendary bulk inserter just for maximum speed. Because we seem to have all or almost all of the items that we need. And let's just set these to higher values so that we get more delivered at a time. And that should hopefully get everything under control. So now you are going as fast as humanly possible to fill this up. And we just need to craft up our new... what are those even called? Rocket launch pads? Rocket silos. Alright, so that should provide... Once this is all finished, it should provide all the red circuits we need. And this is actually broken. No plastic. Why no plastic? No petroleum gas. Why no petroleum gas? Wait. Oh, did that get cut off? Yes, it did. Okay, so you need to lose those two underground. Those two beacons go. That gets connected back up. That goes... And that should get the petroleum gas reconnected and get red circuit supply running once more. And once that's done, all of these guys should be in the clear. And is that still just Fulgora Fast being here and being completely unhinged? Yes, it is. Okay. Speaking of which, we need to find Aquilo Fast, and we need to grab a blueprint from any of you and start getting that pasted. Now, because of the way that works, we'll actually have to paste it in at least one more time after this in order for it to fully function. It should be okay in the long run. Now, if we go back to here, how is the red circuit supply going? I think even with all of that, it's still going to be kind of dire straits at all times. That's fine, though. It'll hopefully work. Okay, so now this whole thing is jammed because of too many rare holmium plates, even with the buffer. That's quite rude. And it was a recent jam, too. Okay, so we just need to clear out... We need to just clear out some space in here. And then... hope that'll be enough to last for a while longer. That all goes away. And now we should have a full box worth of rare holmium plates functioning as a buffer now. And I do think that we unfortunately just need to tear this all down and redesign it from scratch, which really, really annoying, but fine. If that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. What I might do, actually, is have, like, everything up to the first recycling step, and then we tear all of this out, we just put a train station in, and just train those over to some other island where we can start again and have enough space to actually do stuff. Because currently, like, having space on this island is a huge problem, and having all of these from the recyclers go into a train stop would be a massive massive built-in buffer, which should theoretically solve any issues. And because this is 4 inputs, right, or 4 solid inputs anyways, then we can just have one train which has 1 train car worth of total storage, although maybe that, like, each item gets its own designated train car in a single train. Now maybe that isn't actually enough, because train car storage is actually pretty bad. So yeah, I think we might end up wanting to have full trains designated to each individual item, which would be quite annoying because the space up here is a bit limited. I don't know, we should be able to make it worth with just plenty of buffer chests on either side of the train section. Like, they don't have to spend much time in the train, that doesn't have to be the buffer. So yeah, that should be fine, I think. But that is another job for the future. For now, how's this red circuit production going? It's back up and running and is just slowly filtering through all these assorted boxes. And then if we head up to here, you are still having problems with concrete, but you are getting there. And there's nothing we can do to, like... There's no special machine we can build this in. It's just made in assembly machines, so we can't get productivity modules in there. It's just sort of terrible. And this is currently absorbing, like, all of our concrete supply. But it should work out. It should work out eventually. Obviously, this doesn't need to run continually. It just needs to run long enough. I will give it a bit of a buffer to have more items, so we can stack a couple at a time and not... Actually, we might want to stack a bunch of these up, because we're probably going to need it. Okay, so Quilo Fast is getting built up now. So that is fine. That can just continue to go on in the background. Probably won't even start interacting with that until next stream, but who knows. Okay, now our low density structure seems to have broken. So what happened over there? We've got a couple of these guys, right? We've got you. And you have all the inputs you need. You can just stand to be a little bit faster. So let's upgrade you. And upgrade the beacons feeding you as well. So that should be that. And then let's allow ourselves to stockpile a full box of them if possible. So now this produces 8 per second, and might even need a bulk inserter there just to get the output going. And you are all good now. So that is a significant bump up. This one is fake and doesn't exist. Let's dismantle it. Now, is this just like our primary supply? We also have these guys up here. We also have these guys up here, which are certainly doing their thing. And could definitely also stand to be upgraded. And we might also... We also need to go through and just make the machines themselves legendary. That's a step that I have been forgetting to do since it's only recently that it became an option. But we can totally make these legendary assembly machines and that a legendary foundry down there. And that should be a huge upgrade to our output of these guys. And I don't know why the last couple Belsavos are terrible. And then you can also stockpile up to a full box if you have the opportunity. And then let's go down to this one. Okay, so you are getting fully caught up on all of that. Now, if we just make you a legendary foundry, you're going to go from 8.13 per second, and you're going to need more fluid ingredients. Now you can do 20 per second if you had enough molten copper. Alright, so these are genuinely just kind of embarrassing modules. So let's fix all of these modules up to be way stronger, and they shouldn't need the legendary foundries, which are not expensive but also not completely free compared to like the beacons, which are quite affordable. So let's just get them up to full resource efficiency and then give them their extra speed. And then this should be all clear. And you're probably going to need stack inserters to pick up enough plastic. But I don't even know how manageable that'll be. Alright, so now you're working properly again. But you're still showing fluid ingredient shortage. I don't know how that's possible. The inputs over here... Oh, I see. These guys are going to need... We're going to need to start throwing bulk inserters into all of these. So those get bulk inserters. You get a stack inserter. You get a stack inserter. That should hopefully make this entire process fast enough, although I don't know if there's physically enough items on these stacks to work properly. But we should fill up with our low density structures pretty soon anyways, and then it won't really matter how fast it's going as long as it can keep up with future demand. There's 128 scheduled to pick up from there though. And this one is still doing everything it can. So that's all fine. Low density structures should be back up and stable. Yeah, logistic storage of 1500 some. And these guys are... Some of these guys are still waiting on them. But they should be on their way any second now, and this whole area should get sorted out properly. So that goes up, and it seems like we're having significant difficulty getting red circuits all the way down to the end of the line, but it should work out eventually. Speaking of which, how is Gleba... Oh, I probably just didn't set Gleba to automatically request... Yeah, you need to automatically request the, what was it, electric engine units, which we were low on. Alright, so you automatically request those. You'll get some of them dropped down immediately, which should give us some of our new launch pads over here eventually when that gets through to working. So now this massive red circuit supply just has to make its way through all of these rocket launchers so that eventually we will have the ability to just launch like purely from here and not have to use anything else for it. Alright, so Quilo Fast is still going, and we have plenty of space platform foundations. That old setup we made way back in the day, just like this random space platform in here, Foundation Crafter, is just doing a great job. Shout out to this extremely scuffed setup, but you don't actually need that much space platform foundation so it's able to keep up with all of our demands as long as we don't go too crazy, which we're not. Okay, so now these are all settled. Logistics storage is up to 2,300. And that should be all set up, right? We just pop over here. We actually have another one. We have another one of you guys over here, but you're not speed moduled or anything. And your supply is incredibly scuffed, so we kind of just don't like that. So yeah, that's all good on that front. The solid fuel, or the rocket fuel, is back down to being in crisis. How has that happened? Did I not just fix you 5 minutes ago? It's just a huge amount of demand, I guess. So this is going. All these machines are running properly. But we have... What have I done? I hit the button that does the dumb thing where I can't see the recipes anymore. There, it's Alt. Okay. So, you are... Oh, you got rotated so that you don't get light oil. That is certainly part of the issue. And then we need more petroleum. So these guys need to go faster. That should be an easy enough fix. We just get the whole upgrade step through all of you guys. And then legendary beacons and legendary speed modules in those legendary beacons. And while we're at it, legendary chemical plants, because why not? Pretty sure we've got plenty of those somewhere. Do we? No, apparently we don't. Okay, well, give up on that, but pretty sure somewhere, it might only be on Fulgora that we got around to crafting those, actually. That sounds correct. Alright, anyways, this should be plenty of light oil processing. That problem should be dealt with. And productivity modules go in, and now petroleum gas supply is back up and running. And with it, a solid, steady stream of rocket fuel. And let's upgrade that from a fast inserter to a bulk inserter, just so that we can. And these guys, they're not... Yeah, the fast inserter is fine for you. But we might want to legendary assembly machine these. Just get that last little bit. So currently they're in the realm of 2 per second each. Legendary assembly machines show up and should increase that up to 5. And now we are having our problem with the solid fuel supply again. Just can't get into the machines fast enough. Now that is fortunately a kind of trivial fix. So we just need to take this section out. Then this belt goes up to there and gets fed in via, for now, just bulk inserters. Should be plenty. Then these go underground pipes out to there, which then connects all the way up. And oh great, there's actually a slight problem, but we can fix it. We just have to do like that so that this pipe can get into that storage tank. Alright. So now that's all set up, these can run faster with their full power. And yeah, at this point, it is literally just this bulk inserter not being able to keep up with everything. So let's upgrade that bulk inserter to a stack inserter. And let's also just increase that storage area a little bit, just so that we don't have to worry about the relatively small amount that we can have stockpiled. And now this is all going, and it's 5, 10, 15, 18-ish per second, which should theoretically be able to fit on this belt without using stack inserters, but seems like it's very close. So let's just stack inserter all of you so that that's not an issue anymore. And now we're back to these guys not being fast enough, which yeah, that makes sense that they're just ever so slightly far behind now. So can we... Okay, this water pipe here is just passing through. So we can fit in a couple more speed beacons like that. And then we just need to fix the water pipe back up, get these speed beacons in, and that ought to give this petroleum gas production a little bit of a kick to get it up and running full speed again. You can also obviously just do this by figuring out how to get those legendary chemical plants over, but that shouldn't be necessary. Alright, so these guys are... Yeah, so now these guys are saying water shortage, actually. And that means we need to find where on earth all this... Oh, this water pipe. Okay, this water pipe is a bit cursed. So let's add a couple more on. And that should keep us satisfied. Just, I don't know. Never hurts to add one extra. And this never goes through... Oh, it does go through a pump, actually. So we might need to... add a pump stack in to make sure the water fully gets set up properly. So let's see. Out here we have like a huge amount, and then over... Yeah, so we just need a pump stack real quick. So we just do that, and that last one needs an extra power pole. And now we can get all the water we need through. So that is not an issue anymore. So that can run. And now this whole thing looks like it's going properly. And our solid fuel supply is stacking up quite nicely. Alright, problem solved. And the processing units are fine. Low density structure is now fine. Rocket fuel now fine. Alright, that is all of that dealt with. Now, what was I doing? Oh, I was staring at this and getting a bit frustrated at how much work I was going to need to do to redesign it. So, first of all, we are probably going to need all of this to be... We're probably going to need to just tear everything out, like, past this first row of recyclers, which I think this first row of recyclers is fine as it is. But this second block over here won't be needed in this area because we're going to be sending them out via train out to somewhere else. Gosh, this would be easier if that fancy new update, which had legendary trains carrying more cargo, that would be lovely if that existed. Is it like in experimental mode or something that I can just like download it and have access to it? That would, because the ability to just have trains carry like 1,000 times more cargo would certainly be much appreciated. But it should be fine as is. Alright, so let's think. We tear all of this out, and then what? This isn't even working currently. Now the green circuits have backlogged, because of course they have. Green circuits and backlogging. Name a more iconic duo. So we need to just clear out a whole bunch of these. And actually, it's not even that the green circuits are backlogging, it's just everything is completely jammed here. Yeah, so that's not even going to make much of a difference. So we will start by disconnecting the input there, as we've done a couple other times in the past when this got broken. That will eventually trickle through to this getting better. But it is going to be an eventually sort of thing. So we might... No, so I was thinking we might have like all the tier 1 outputs can just get looped back down into here to reduce the demand on all of this stuff to keep this running, and then we only need to worry about the uncommons and above. But I don't know, because that would obviously lose me the ability to use them from scratch to like just cycle up here and get even more. It would slow the throughput some, but be more controllable, I guess. I don't know. That seems like it shouldn't be needed. Now, we're going to be dismantling this entire thing, but I don't want to do that until we have the setup that'll replace it. So, first of all, how many of these have we wound up with? We have 30 of them, and this whole setup only uses like a couple, right? So that should be fine. And likewise on our recyclers. Our legendary recyclers are stored here. We've got 100 of them. And we've got another solid chunk in here. So we have 160 of them, plus more than enough resources to craft up a bunch more. Although for some reason it says 0 legendary concrete. So let's just pop over to this. Is this all just getting picked up to do something? Yes, so this is still running properly, but legendary concrete's in high demand, so that's not surprising. I don't know where exactly it's going to. Probably legendary refined concrete. Yeah, that's the one. Alright, so that's all fine. So let's pick a nice big island. I don't know, maybe... I mean, preferably it would be sort of close, right? Maybe this one down here, or I'm looking at this one is reasonable size. We can like do the train stuff down here and then belt them all up onto this larger square blob. But for now, let's check out this island to see what it's like. It's kind of crummy. Okay. Yeah, no, I think we're going to use this island, which would be nice to make this area a little bit less isolated. We've sort of been pushing off to the southeast this entire time, just building our next thing up over here. Will make it a lot more symmetrical and nice. Spidertron's just going to sort of run through the fog here. I guess we might discover something new. Spidertron is getting electrocuted, but it's got a good amount of durability, so it should be fine. And there's Flora and Lightning Attractors over here for it to hide in. Okay, so we're over here, and we are just going to set up this area as our sort of base of operations. So we need to get drone port and power over to this spot. So we will start with just sort of a random drone port just popped in there. And a power pole. Now we have to run this all to connect up. So that all connects up. And now we just need to bring this. I think this is the closest land probably that we've used. So we just bring this off to the side over here. And bring the power poles with it. And then from here we swap to the legendary big electrical poles just to save on foundation. We don't have to place them nearly as frequently. And it's not that much of a savings, obviously, because we need to get the lightning collectors in as well. So that goes, and that goes there. Then we just run along to get all that built, and we just keep it going. And actually, it's going to be more efficient if we just build these in sync with the, what's it called? In sync with the drone ports, since that's the shortest ranged one. Are you already out of drone ports or foundation? No. You just somehow didn't realize you could grab that. Okay, so that goes. We just need to make sure that the wires stay connected. And we get all this built. And it's actually, yeah, this is actually closer, I think. So this just keeps on going, bit by bit. We might run out and need to restock on something at some point. Probably foundations, maybe drone ports. Okay, so that, yeah, so we're now low on foundations, so let's run out there to get more of them, and then we're gonna have to come back to this in a second once that's been dealt with. We're also gonna need to do so much work to get all these power poles set up, or the lightning collectors, sorry, because drones are going to be coming here from absolutely everywhere, and it's going to be a bit of a giant nuisance. Alright, so Spidertron is back over here. So this should be, like, the best spot to pick up more foundations, but apparently we don't have more foundations. Okay, now this got finished off. Can we actually... No, we can't. There's some way of, like, magically scrolling back and just, like, going through previous things you've copy-pasted. I don't know how to do that. So we're just going to have to do that, and it should be fine. That's Aquilo Fast. Now, Aquilo Support 2 has an enormous amount of foundations. And Fulgora somehow isn't requesting them. So we have foundations. And you... Are you... How is there a tiny gap there? Are you kidding me? That's absurd. Alright, just put a RoboPort there. So that that's not a thing, ever. Alright, now you're officially in range. And we have all these stuff showing up. But there are just no drones in this particular part of the map right now, so they have to make their way over. Yeah, actually, what on earth are the drones doing? Where are they? Because they should be, like, by the cargo landing pad is, like, the main place for a drone to be. So that... They showed up eventually. And here we go. We're getting all restocked. And let's set roboports up a little bit because we need a lot of them. I don't know how many of those we have. So as far as lightning collectors, we've got 16 of them and a couple more on the way. Alright, so we should be fine for most of these guys. Just wait a little bit. Now we're mostly just getting trash slots cleared out. And I can set this to be supercapacitors of any quality get trashed. And set this to copper cables of any quality get trashed. That saves a couple of spaces in the inventory. Not that it's super important. Alright, so you are back up and functional. So now just run here and hopefully finish off this row of drone ports. And we are going to copy that little blob again. And we can start like there. And then connect that back to there for that to all work out. Okay, so now the Spidertron is in the area. And of course, these ones are getting built from some faraway place. But we can still judge where exactly they'll go based on that. So you go in, then you get placed a little bit later. And we just keep on going. We will want to sort of angle a little bit upwards. And just that one, and then get these couple placed in properly. Alright. And that is everything. It's all connected up to power. And yeah, so that's all connected up to power. It's all connected up to the drone port. So now we have that. You just need to get back over here and continue building. You apparently get a lightning collector for that one specific spot, which is missing. Okay. So now we are over here. We need, first and foremost, a station. But this is going to be a bit of a funky station, actually. So let's not copy-paste one of the existing ones, because this is going to be super strange. So we have a rail ramp down. Then, oh boy, Gleba is getting attacked again. Okay, but it looks like we won. We took a lot of damage, lost a bunch of power poles, but we did defeat the pentapods. And artillery shell range is about to get another plus. Like, it's just so slow. But that's probably also just because my production is bad. But yeah, so we should be fine with that. Can we just get you? So if we get you copy-pasted, then we build that here. Oh, this is just an entirely different setup. Okay, so let's just build this second setup directly in front of the first. And then this will, first of all, just be more dense in an area which we know they're likely to attack, which should help a lot. Also, it's got railguns, which hopefully will be beneficial. If not, then that'll just be annoying, but whatever. Back over to Fulgora. We've got a new and exciting, enormous amount of ocean to cover with lightning collectors as we get around to it. But for now, we just take this train track forward a bunch, and then we're going to get ramped right back up, and we get a train stop in there right before the ramp up. Okay, now it's time to start spamming lightning collectors around, unfortunately. So, what patterns exactly are these guys coming from? They're just like kind of doing whatever, huh? Like they're going along this way to just charge for some reason. Yeah, we actually just need to fill in this entire massive ocean with lightning collectors, which is going to take freaking forever. Although I guess we can probably use copy-paste to get them placed like designated earlier, but the actual placements are just going to be kind of terrible. So let's just like copy-paste this entire blob and then just sort of start. I don't know, that's actually not great because it doesn't show me where the... Like, it doesn't show me if there are any holes in what I'm setting up here. Which means I unfortunately probably have to do this like 80% manual. So we just get the Spidertron to run around, get all of these guys placed. And then we get this whole area covered in. And alright, that should be good as far as like that region is concerned. But there's so much more to go. This is just like sort of one of many areas where we need to spam down 10,000 lightning collectors. Okay, now most of those are within drone port range, and so it can be done automatically. Okay, so then the next big path we need to do is this one all the way up there. And then there's just a bunch of random nonsense drones going through this area, which we will deal with eventually. So, first of all, we just have to start getting all these guys placed. And we're going to be headed upwards. And, okay, Spidertron is out of lightning collectors, so we are going to give up on that for now. You can just stand somewhere within the drone port range so that eventually lightning collectors will be brought to you. Now, in the meantime, we need to dismantle all of that, which is quite time-consuming. Oh, and apparently that train stop got caught in it. So you go back in, and this is... What is this thing even called? Super capacitor cycling destination. That's one heck of a name. We will give you the icon. Where's the icon? There. And these are all, of course, things getting destroyed in this massive ocean, which they've decided to cross for no reason. I guess there is a reason. They have to clear out all of these ridiculous things here. but that is going to take some time. So, did you ever get these filled? No, you're still waiting, which makes sense because you're a million miles away. Alright, you actually just run up that way. So you... because our lightning collector production is in here, right? Let's see if I can spot them. That's lightning rods. Lightning collectors should be up here somewhere. Is this them? No, it's the input. Here's the lightning collectors supply. Let's give them an opportunity for a little bit of extra output. And then this seems to be fine. So let's get you just speed moduled a little bit. You can't be productivity moduled, but we can make you a little bit faster. So that should be plenty of those. Spidertron over here has 16 and another 4 on the way. Alright, now it is, I guess, time to start heading down and getting those built. So we need to just sort of be heading more or less just directly south from that island. Should be the main line of the drones. Although they're gonna be drones and take all sorts of weird, unusual paths. This should be the sort of the main direction. What is that? That is real weird looking. Like just a random thing in the middle of the ocean. Alright, so Spidertron keeps going down. And then we just keep on bringing all of these. It's too wide. It's probably going to need to be... well, it's definitely going to need to be way wider to catch everything. But this should hopefully do a decent job. Although it looks like the main push is actually sort of off to the side of this. So can we just like have this diagonal that way, just so that it's more centralized, and we're out of power poles again, so we can head back up and wait for that to happen. Alright, so you are output full. We've got 40 lightning collectors there. And this is like most of the way, at least. So it could be so much worse. And then there's this direction, which is still a work in progress. Okay, so Spidertron picks up its lightning collectors, picks up... oh, it has to pick up foundations still, but I don't think there's even that much available. So we only have 18 foundation left, which is going to make this quite difficult. So we're going to have to stop all the way over there to pick up the foundation in a reasonable time frame. And by the time we're there, I'm not even sure how much foundation will be present. Alright, the good news is that some of this stuff is... okay, wait, how is that? I could have sworn we just picked up a bunch. Is it somehow not delivered yet? It must have not been delivered yet. I don't know. Let's look back down onto this. So we have 4 boxes here. Each of those is going to need to be a full scale output, partially just for buffer reasons, and we shouldn't need to use the other side. It shouldn't be that crazy. Although we might want to leave the room for that just in case. Actually, yeah, let's set up both sides just because it'll make it easier in the future if this becomes necessary, and it might be necessary for like the green circuits. So So that is all set up. And then I should have just copy-pasted this. Should have just copy-pasted this from the beginning. So we can get the power poles in. And then that just goes. And then this gets all set up. Alright, so now we've got all this. We need to set these up as individual belts. So they need to go like this. Then you go underground out to there. And this is going to be outputting to the far side of this belt, so the right. So this one needs to pop into the left side and just go up like that. And that should be spaced enough. Oh, this needs to be one further back, which should still work. So that should be spaced enough that we can just have everything line up. And why is this? Oh, is the train tracks causing problems, I bet, in how precisely we can paste these things? Yeah, that's definitely what was happening. So those go in like that. Then we get the top half pasted. And those all go in. So now we have, theoretically, a full belt of everything. And we just need the last couple of power poles to show up. So this is a full belt of all of our inputs at potentially sort of just like assorted rarities, right? Like there's no guarantee of what exactly we're going to get because we have quality modules right before this in the process. And let's see, this... Did I get 90% of the way done labeling this and then get distracted by something? I could have sworn I'd done this. So we get supercapacitor symbol, and then it's supercapacitor legendary, just call it rarity destination. So that's a bit of a confusing name, but I'm sure I can remember it for the literal one time that I'll ever need to use it. Okay, and then you can get a box to deliver solid fuel, which is just the easiest fuel to gain access to real quick, especially here on Fulgora. So this should be good for one full speed belt of each input, which is that actually... Can this actually manage that? Alright, so this is jammed again. Of course it has. And it's holmium plates again, because of course it is. So let's just clear some of those out to try to get this to continue running. It should ease up over time as the fresh input supply decreases. Now, what's taking the drones so long? Are they just all out over here or something? Okay, there's a massive wave of drones coming down there. That should be what we're looking for to get this up and running again. So that all goes. And the thing we're short on right now is the superconductors. How are we short on superconductors? Don't we have a billion of them down there? Oh no, we are output full here. That's the problem. Yikes. Okay, so if we just look at this, this is like definitely more than a full belt, right? So we want to do like at least one step of cycling here, ideally, before we pass them off. Otherwise the belt speed is going to be a limiting factor. So let's see here. Ideally these... So basically what we do is we have these go in here, these go into this block, then they go through the first row of recycling, and then they come out, and then they potentially go through the second phase of recycling over here, and then the outputs from this, instead of going up here and back into all this stuff, they just go elsewhere. Now, that should keep it relatively simple and allow us to do more work to get this first row going properly, but it also kind of means we still need massive buffers in this area, which I don't know about. We're gonna have to redesign so much for this to function, but it is currently running, which is about the best we can say. Okay, so if we swap this over to the way the blue circuits work, where each rarity has its own cycling system, so that they're all like as independent as they feasibly can be. So we would have like commons, then uncommons, and then... So how would that work if we're sending things over? We would say just all the common stuff is dealt with here, and then everything uncommon and above just gets shipped over to the other place. That could make sense, right? So we just have these guys make supercapacitors, cycle supercapacitors, send them out. If it's common, they just continue looping around in here. If it's uncommon, we just send it forwards. And we still have a lot of uncommons in this whole setup, and this has jammed again for the same reason it jammed last time. So let's clear out another couple rows of holmium plates to try to keep this whole thing running, because we just need this to eventually run out of fresh inputs, and that shouldn't be too long from now, in theory. So this, at the end of the day, this is just going to be the first recycling, and then the outputs. So actually, what are the first recycling ratios? It's more than doubled. So we have 1.6 in, we have 3.6 out. So one full belt of input gives more than 2 full belts of output, but it doesn't give more than 1 full belt of anything in particular, right? So if we have 240 supercapacitors in, we have 240 green circuits out, but we don't have 280 green circuits out. So that is a very good sign for our ability to load these up into the train stops. Now, this whole thing... Why is this whole thing so slow? Like, surely this should be running to some extent, and it just isn't. Oh, it's because this side gets dibs, which means that this side is completely broken. Okay. That makes sense, and also doesn't really matter because this whole thing is being dismantled. So, if we have this first recycling step breaks them down, then we get assorted rarities. If it's commons, they just stay here, and I guess they just go into this row then, and we just loop between these two until we get anything other than commons, and then all the uncommons and above we just send out into the train stop. Okay, so we also need to get the electrolytes over, actually, which hopefully we can just add a 5th car. I've always done 4 cars, but there's theoretically nothing wrong with just... I think adding a 5th car should maybe work. If not, we can just have that be a separate train or something. Alright. Let's get that set up. So we have a pump, and it's not even showing it, so I think it might actually be... It's definitely not, like, completely limited to 4 cars, but there's some weird trick to it. Can we just go back to Novice and see if we can construct something here? We have, like, a random out-of-the-way stop that we use here, right? For construction. It could be just, like, any of these random things here that used to have stops but don't now. Alright, so let's put a train stop in, and then just build a locomotive out of that with 5 cars and see what happens. Is there like any useful like guides in there that says how exactly the train limitings work? So, trains. I just click on that. Says basically nothing. Rails, train stops. Do any of these say... No, of course not. That would just be entirely too useful for them to say how that works. Alright, so now we can get train in 1, 2, 3, 4 cargo wagons and a fluid wagon. And then you... Of course, this is like the only stop on the planet that doesn't have solid fuel, so let's get that set up. And also, of course, this has to be pretty far away. I could have definitely picked a closer one, like this one, which would have been much faster. Alright, so the train is mostly built. It's still waiting on the solid fuel and the requester chest and everything. Oh, and we also need a power pole there. Is the Spidertron close? No, the Spidertron's super far away. There's no point bringing you up. This will definitely all be set up before that ever happens. So I just want to see if this train can carry 5 cars. And so we need our solid fuel to get down here, and we need that power pole. Alright, power pole is in. Now it's just waiting on the solid fuel, which should be this stuff right here. Okay, so now this random guy is good. And you definitely seem to be able to go. There might be some limit. I'm pretty sure there's some reason why everyone always does 4 cars per train, but it shouldn't be an issue, right? I'm gonna tear all that out and just say that this is probably fine. So then we get a 1 tile gap and a whole bunch of pumps, which there's no way we need all of these pumps. Let's just stick with one side. And those go out into a pipe. And apparently we don't have pumps on Fulgora. So that's going to be a thing that we need to deal with. But that will be probably a job for next time, because we are about when I normally wrap up the stream. So I think we're going to stop here just as soon as we can get this ridiculous thing going again, which it seems like this is finally getting unstuck because there's just less stuff in it, and that's good because when we dismantle all of this, we do not want to have 10,000 completely filled up boxes to clear out all at once. We want to be able to have this be mostly empty when it's dismantled. And mostly the stuff getting dismantled is the stuff up here. Stuff down here is fine as it is, mostly. But yeah, so I think we're going to wrap up the stream there for the day. So thanks, Evan, for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. I will be doing Dyson Sphere program tomorrow, where we are going to a different star system. So that should be exciting. Not sure exactly what to expect, but it should be quite cool. And other than that, we will be back here to Factorio on Friday, where we will hopefully be finishing up this whole mess and getting it to work properly. And then once we have a solid supply of these, which currently could be worse, but isn't great. Once we have those, we can just add those to some other legendary items, get lithium plates, get cryogenic plants, and then that plus a little bit of legendary cycling on the carbon fiber and jelly side of things should give us all the legendary stuff that we need, hopefully. And so yeah, that'll be next time. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, so if you're interested in various factory building games, then you should stop by and see what I'm doing. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you guys next time.